Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about a boss fight in one of my favorite games, Yhorm the Giant from Dark Souls 3. Specifically how I believe all the pieces were in place to make a legendary boss fight, but they were organized in a way that undermines that potential. To start, let's go over how a typical encounter with Yhorm goes. He's a towering figure with a massive pool of health that's nigh impossible to chip away at through normal means. The fight against Yhorm is a unique experience that takes advantage of the older, gimmicky style of boss fights used more often in the older Souls games, while being at the speed of the more fast combat focused boss fights of the later games. He's unorthodox, yet his attack patterns are traditional, making for the best of both worlds. Or at least he would have if not for his kryptonite. The Storm Ruler trivializes the fight against Yhorm. All the player needs to do is stand back and charge attacks. There's no need to get in close and no need to really gauge positioning and distance once the Storm Ruler is charged, because its reach is so damn long. On every normal playthrough I find Yhorm to be the most boring boss fight. Just a gimmick whose solution is thrown into your lap. However, driven by madness over the ongoing pandemic, I did a few challenge runs, and on 3 of these challenge runs, Yhorm was the most exciting boss fight. These 3 challenge runs were sorcery only, pyromancy only, and bow only. It was exciting because the self-imposed rules meant I couldn't use Storm Ruler, and because of that I had to aim my attacks directly at Yhorm's head. He wouldn't automatically take a knee and let me hit him with every headshot like the Storm Ruler did. But it did decent damage, and it did occasionally make him stagger and take a knee. It was incredibly fun having to judge how his head would sway and swing and move with each of his attacks. For my pyromancy character in particular, it was a challenge because Yhorm is actually immune to fire. I had to backtrack and rescue this nice lady Carla the Witch in order to learn abyss pyromancy spells from her, which dealt dark damage instead of fire damage. It was a completely unique experience within the game. It made me have to use my brain a little, interact with the world, and I get a different sort of challenge that most bosses offer without relying solely on gimmicks. I think it's a shame that the Storm Ruler trivializes the fight while hampering that experience. It makes me wish instead of finding Storm Ruler in Yhorm's room, you found a bow and some arrows instead, or something of the sort. Anything to tell you that long-range attacks are what will help you here. Additionally, I think removing Storm Ruler from Yhorm's room would also help Sigurd's questline to be more interesting and satisfying. Due to the long and involved nature of his questline, most players are likely to only complete it on a subsequent playthrough. So going through all this trouble to get Sigurd into the fight against Yhorm and having him bust out the Storm Ruler looks less impressive than it could have, because the player can use the Storm Ruler too, and they are likely already familiar with it. Not to mention it completely trivializes the fight with 2 Storm Rulers bearing down on poor Yhorm. I feel if the player didn't have access to Storm Ruler, they'd be more impressed and wowed by Sigurd's use of it. It would make him feel like a real asset in the fight. Like this jolly companion of yours was secretly a legendary warrior the whole time who can do things you can't. He can summon storms and bring Yhorm to his knees with a single swing of his sword. He was hiding his true power level until the climax of his quest. Moreover, if the only way to receive Storm Ruler was a reward from completing Sigurd's questline, I think that would make completing his questline more rewarding. Especially when consider on New Game Plus you can now fight Yhorm one-on-one with a Storm Ruler. This time, being able to blow past Yhorm is a reward for completing one of the most difficult questlines in the game, and not the default way to fight him. As the game exists now, it may be unbalanced for a normal character build to defeat Yhorm this way, but if you tweaked Yhorm's defenses in his head or maybe had a lot of crossbows and bolts lying around the profaned capital, I think you can make this work if you really tried. When Yhorm takes a knee, melee attacks do decent damage, so your stats don't particularly need to be skewed for long range options to beat him. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they considered this but ultimately dropped the idea because it would be too much trouble for little baby players to do. Whoa. I don't want to see this as a case of devs ruining a boss fight to accommodate casuals, especially in a franchise like Dark Souls, but that's certainly what it feels like. If Yhorm's fight was designed away from the Storm Ruler and more to take advantage of his unique aspects, I might be tempted to call Yhorm my favorite boss fight in the whole series. Unfortunately, I can't because being handed the Storm Ruler limits the potential of what could have been an absolutely brilliant boss fight. I don't want to come off as spiteful to Dark Souls 3, I only made this video because missed opportunities are what I hate most in games I love. I can only bring myself to do so many challenge runs because I love it so much. Now that's a fairly small video for such a big guy, but that's all for now. Thank you all for watching and sweet dreams.